Hello everybody, and welcome to this video where I want to outline some of my takeaways and notes from the 2023 Q2 earnings conference call for Enphase. As you know, I'm an Enphase bull. I believe this company has a bright future ahead of it, and I want to go for a conference call and tell you what I really liked about it, because frankly, I didn't see much negative in it, and I listened to the whole thing, and it was a very long conference call if you listen to it. Anything the analysts point out is temporary, right? I mean, the drop in guidance, that's all temporary. That is not a big deal in my view. In my view, there's a lot of gold in this conference call, and that's what I want to cover. So, free cash flow. Point number one, free cash flow and buybacks. So, Badri noted that the free cash flow run rate right now is 225 million, and it's probably going to be around flat this year because of the slowdown in the United States. 85% of the slowdown is in the US. Europe is the bright spot, so the company is pretty much staying flat for 2 more quarters. And Badri is telling us, Badri is the CEO, right? Telling us that 225 million for now is what we get in free cash flow. So I just want to point out that this is a stock that's not expensive. This is a stock that's not that expensive because after today's drop, right, the enterprise value right now is roughly 20 billion in EV, and you're talking about 900 million a year in free cash flow, right? 225 times 4. So that gives you a free cash flow yield of 4.5%. It's not that expensive for a company whose main product has a 20 to 40x runway ahead of it, right? Solar right now is entirely underpenetrated in most market. In the US is just about 5%, and we'll see later that actually Europe is mostly 2 countries right now. Much of Europe, there's no penetration from Enphase. So this company has a huge growth runway. It's not an established company, right? It's not Procter & Gamble who's going to sell a little more soap next year. No, the products are going to explode. They're going to sell a lot of these products, yet it's trading almost at a fair/regular market valuation, which I think is entirely crazy. This stock is getting cheap. Also worth noting the 1 billion buyback that has been authorized by the board of Enphase. So if the board authorizes it, that means that they believe Enphase is doing well and preparing itself well for the future. And it's worth noting that $1 billion of buyback could almost entirely be funded by the free cash flow. That's how good this company is becoming. I am very happy to own Enphase. It's my second biggest position after Tesla. Moving on to the IRA, right? The Inflation Reduction Act. Well, inflation, I don't know how much inflation is going to reduce from the taxpayer. It's probably going to cost a lot of money to the taxpayer. But if you're an Enphase shareholder, IRA is just gold. That's all it is. It's gold, gold, gold. Do you, and I mean, this is like maybe the third conference call that I do a video on. Are you noting the excitement of the CEO, the tone, whenever the CEO starts talking about the IRA? And we all know why the CEO is so gung-ho about manufacturing 480 watt inverters in the United States and then shipping them out to Latin America and to US commercial. Why is that, right? At 480 watt per inverter, 11 cents of subsidy, that's 52, let's round it up to 53. 53 bucks worth of subsidies per quote-unquote big microinverters, which is just a slightly bigger version of the regular inverters. 52 bucks. That must cover almost the entirety of your cost of goods sold. That's amazing. That's amazing. Per what the CEO says, those big microinverters, they're going to be shipped, but even if you ship them to, say, Latin America, you still get the subsidy. So this is a company that has a tremendous incentive to move its manufacturing to the United States and use the United States as its exporting hub. And keep in mind, in the modern business, much of it is automated, right? Much of the manufacturing of semiconductors, which that's what Enphase is, right? Enphase is a semiconductor-driven product. That's not labor-intensive. That's machine-intensive. So it doesn't really make that much much of a difference. So it looks like the US is going to become a hub of manufacturing for microinverters, and Enphase is going to benefit. I've always said the IRA, this is a bill that the taxpayer is really going to regret. I remember when it got released, I was like, this is insane. This is very similar to what they did in Europe in 2007, 2008, 2009, where they had too big of subsidies and they governments didn't grasp the advancement of the technology, the cost of solar panels, and the subsidies were too big. My guess is that those subsidies, which are slated to remain in place until 2033, they're going to become pretty darn costly to the taxpayer. And even though saying that Tesla is benefiting just from tax incentives is absolutely not true anymore, and carbon credits is not true to say that about Tesla anymore, I think we're going to be in a situation where it's going to be a fair criticism of Enphase to say, hey, they're benefiting from the government because there's a big incentive. And also, let's not forget, customers get a $7,500 tax credit, and that is until 2024. That's actually in some shape until 2035 because they have a 2-year phase out after 2033. So a 10 years growth runway ahead of us. No problem at all. But wait, that's just the US right here. We didn't talk about the rest, right? International revenue. Europe is becoming huge for Enphase in addition to Australia. Important to note that the Australian market is the biggest market in the world for solar. They're at about 30% penetration in Australia, and Enphase is the absolute leader in Australia. I've made a full video on Enphase in Australia, and Australia is Enphase's most mature market in many ways at 30% penetration. But of course, Australia is a very tiny country/continent compared to Europe's 450 million citizens, and Europe is growing extremely fast right now. And it's worth noting that crazy great growth of 25% quarter over quarter, so Q1 2023 to Q2 2023, that was 25% growth. Annualize that. You're well above 100%, right? It's worth noting that had actually tripled from a year ago. And this happened in Europe. This tripling of sales in 1 year in Europe happened essentially with 2 countries, France and the Netherlands. And France, by the way, is my country of origin. And when I was there this summer, I could tell Enphase is very big in France, right? It's actually one of the main products that people install. They are taking over. Now, what if they do this in Germany, Sweden, Denmark, UK, Italy, Poland, Switzerland, Spain? These are all blue ocean markets for Enphase. These are markets that are owned by SMA, string inverter, Fronius, string inverter, right? Solar Edge, string inverters. They have not met the competition of Enphase and of microinverters, right? So Enphase is going to bring competition to major markets, very important market, and especially Germany, especially Italy, UK, Spain. These are the bigger markets out there, probably about the same size of France. So these markets are going to be able to really be big markets for Enphase, and it's very promising. That's why I say this is a company that could become a mostly Europe company going forward, especially the US remains slow for a year or 2. Australia sales, by the way, also doubled year on year. So this is a company of many doublings if you move out of the US. So it's tough sometimes for analysts who follow this stock to forget about a US-centric view and to even forget about a California-centric view. It's like this company almost has the stigma of a California-centric view in the analysts. If you listen to the analysts, we talk about NEM 3, NEM 2. If you follow solar, the NEM 3, NEM 2 debate, it's really a California debate still silly, even though most countries, states are going to be adopted NEM 3 more or less in the future. It's still a company that's heavily, whose discourse is heavily dictated by the US and what happens in the US and California, while it's going to be not true in the number within a year. Within a year, Europe will be bigger for them. How about the revenue guidance, right? So that was the main reason why the stock is down. Main reason why the stock is down is revenue guidance. The revenue guidance was down quite a bit compared to what was previously said, and the reason why they guided down is because they overshipped to their distributors in Q1 and in Q2 to the point that they have an inventory of about 30% right now. So by guiding slow for us in Q3, what Enphase is doing is they want to make sure that their distributors go through their inventory. So, and I love Badri for that. He did say it. He said, we made a mistake. We made a mistake. We thought Q1 would be a seasonally high quarter like it had always been, and Q2 I meant. Badri said that about Q2, but Q2 was not a strong quarter at all. Americans did not go a lot for solar in Q2. Understandably, given the interest rates right now, I do believe that the interest rates will drop really, really quickly with the current state of the Fed and the state of the economy. So I'm not worried about that. But right now, it is flat. Sales of solars are flat because of the GDP in the US and because of the interest rates in the US. And because they are flat, Enphase needs to ship fewer products to its distributors within the United States, but that is temporary. And as the macro environment gets better, as interest rates go down, and as utility rates go up and power outages come back on. I mean, this is the summer right now. Who knows how many power outages we're going to have? All of this is going to drive more adoption of solar. Okay, moving on to batteries. So, talking about batteries are the next big thing for Enphase. They're the next big product for Enphase. Enphase actually shipped about 1 gigawatt hour of batteries together this quarter. They didn't detail out how many batteries that is, but my estimate is about 200,000 batteries that they shipped. So of course very small compared to the microinverter business for now. Very small, but it's growing very fast. Batteries are going very fast. They also weren't pushing batteries too much because we were in the process of phasing out an old generation of battery and replacing them with third generation batteries. Third generation batteries are much better. They take under 30 minutes to install. They're actually lighter for installers, which is what Enphase is really trying to do. They're trying to please installers all the time. And additionally, they have triple the peak power. And this is important if you are trying to run your AC or a heat pump. You need to have high peak power to start up the system. And that's what Enphase's new generation batteries is able to do without necessarily having a high number of kilowatt hours, because the peak power can be very high. That's the beauty of embedded electronics within batteries, and that's why Enphase is able to do that. And actually, the CEO talks about the attach rate for batteries and takes as an example Germany. And Germany as kind of a map for the rest of the world, which is in Germany, the attach rate for batteries is about 80%. And it seems to be becoming the norm in Germany and in Europe to self-consume your electricity. And just the tip of that distribution, right? Those really, really hard days where you need a lot of power, like in the summer when it's really hot and you may not have enough, or in the winter, then the remainder 20% you may get from the grid. So it's the whole idea of having grid-tied systems, grid-tied batteries still being prominent for a few years to come. And that's the anecdote from Germany. There's high attach rate on the batteries, and you also have very high attach rates in California for NEM-free customers. For the new customers coming in, knocking on Enphase's door and saying, hey, I want solar, these customers are opting for batteries, as was predicted by Badri. But of course, this data for now is anecdotal, of course, because there's still backup of NEM2 customers and NEM2 projects to be finished up in California. So Badri, the CEO, said he anticipates self-consumption to become the norm, attach rates for batteries to become very high, and he's been saying this consistently for the past 3 calls. So that's why I really trust the CEO on this. This is just just me, not investment advice, of course. Moving on to the innovation. The CEO is very happy about the innovations of the company, talks about them at length. He's happy about green charging. He seems to think that green charging is going to be a great push towards the eco-friendly sales pitch of the product, which is say, oh, you can have your EV, and you can also say that your EV is really a true EV, a true green vehicle, because it's only getting charged from the solar on your roof. So that's going to be coming with the new chargers that we are developing, and of course bi-directional charging, which is really going to help with independence and with the batteries. When you can use the battery from your car for that 20% of the time where you need to pull power from the grid, imagine if you can pull it from your car. That really brings you a lot of independence. And these new chargers that are going to allow to seamlessly merge your car to your house, that's expected in Q4 of 2024. These products take a while to develop. It's also noteworthy to say that why Q4 2024, because that's when a lot of manufacturers of EVs are planned to enable bidirectional charging, the bidirectional flow of energy, and especially the one from the car to the house. A lot of EVs don't do that yet, but that's coming. Other innovations that Badri is happy about: the three-phase cabling for commercial and emerging markets. They're able to mimic a tri-phase system. And if you follow, for example, commercial electric, you know that in commercial electricity, AC, the three-phase system is often very common. So Badri is happy about that. New combiner boxes in Europe are going to save time. So they're developing special combiner boxes for the European electricity system and to comply with the European codes. The reduction of components in battery systems. Badri is very excited about that. They're moving from 7 electronic boards to just 1 board in their new batteries, and that's going to be a lot of cost. Then Badri said that they have a whole team dedicated to cost reduction on microinverters. And why? Why is that? Because, as Badri noted, they're on track eventually within the next year to do 20 million microinverters per year. And if you do 20 million microinverters per year, that means that if you save just 1 penny, that's $200,000 saved a year. So you can pay an engineer a full year to just save a penny, and that would be profitable. Like that would be rational. It'd be rational if you save $200,000 a year for 1 penny. It'd be rational for you to hire 1 engineer, pay them a full year, and they save you a penny. So they have strong incentive to reduce any cost that goes into the microinverters. That's why this company is hyper optimized. Badri is also proud about the fact that they're bumping the warranty on batteries to 15 years, a 15-year warranty. He also noted that it's possible to do because of the 1 board system. So with the new batteries, it's going to be very easy to replace any part that has a defect. And Badri was noting that the cell rarely has a defect. It's often the overhead in the system. It's often the driver of the system, the electronics that fail. So 15-year warranty on battery, still 25 years warranty on microinverters, which is twice as much as string inverters. And this is the reason, all these innovations are the reason why Badri is not planning on dropping the prices on the microinverters on the Enphase product. Enphase is not dropping its prices because they know what they have in this market. Lastly, Badri, and I want to highlight this, talk about the payback. You know, a product that sells itself is a product that does something obvious for you, a product that is so much better than what you currently have. And in the case of solar, what is so much better about solar? Well, it's the fact that you can cancel your electric bill or entirely forgetting about it, right? If you install solar on your house and after a 5 to 7 year period, you don't have an electric bill anymore or barely any electric bill, it's a very, very easy sell for any family who's planned on staying in that home. And that's the main driver behind all of this. It's kind of similar to an electric car. Like the key economic reason to buying an electric car is because it costs you less than $10 to fill it up for 400 miles, 350 miles, less than $10, right? Gas car is going to cost you $60. it sells itself. It's a much cheaper way to have electricity. A solar system is cheaper, much cheaper, not 30% cheaper, not 50% cheaper, but one order of magnitude better, 10x better. That's the whole idea. And that's why this system with batteries are going to sell, according to Badri. There's a lot of demand. And even if you don't have the seemingly advantageous system of NEM2, where you can use the grid as a battery and the grid buys back your electricity at the same price, it sells it back to you later on, even if that is gone, that is not really altering the payback period that much, because a typical system that they sell for bill offset, that with a battery for bill offset, that means for reducing your bill, reduces your bill by about 70 to 90%. If you buy a system with a battery and solar, you're going to reduce your bill by 70 to 90%, and depending on where you live, the payback is still at 5 to 7 years. So we've added 2 to 3 years with the battery right now compared to what it used to be without the battery, because without a battery, when I was calculated, we were definitely under 5 years without a battery with NEM2 system. So we're moving to 5 to 7 years, and the key question in this is how much are the costs of batteries going to decline? And my guess is, while microinverters, costs seem pretty stable, there's two big things where costs, in my view, are going to decline, and it is solar panels. Solar panels costs are still going to keep declining and keep getting better and cheaper year after year. So that's the exponentiality number one. That's the major cost curve reduction, number one, for the solar panels, right? And that's a big part of the system. And then the batteries too. The batteries are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So eventually, as you add a few years to this calculation, I would not be surprised to see the payback for a solar system, i.e. your solar panels, your microinverters, and your battery, having a payback under 5 years. That would not surprise me. And if you say you have a 5-year payback on a system like that, that's 20% return on your money, tax-free. It's an easy sell for a homeowner. And this is why, in my view, solar will be adopted. In my view, there will be a time 10 years from now, 15 years from now, where when you drive around in your neighborhood, single-family home neighborhood, most homes will have solar on the roof. That is the nature of this technology, just like most cars will be electric. That is what I believe. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your likes, appreciate your subscribes. This is not investment advice. This is just entertainment. I hope you were entertained. Please follow me on Twitter if you can. Please like the video. Have a great day.